Last year, there was a historic change of leadership on the Boston Police Department with the appointment of its first African-American commissioner. The change also comes with new efforts to increase transparency, community engagement, and diversity, as well as continuing challenges in combating violent crime. To tell us about the goals and progress to date is Boston Police Commissioner William Gross. Thank you very much for being with us, Commissioner.
Good afternoon, sir. Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year to you. I want to start with the challenge at the beginning of New Year. How many guns you've picked up recently, just the past couple of weeks?
So just in 14 days, we have over 32 firearms off the street, and as a result of an execution and executions of search warrants that were fruitful. In 14 days, to have over 32 guns, you see what we're up against. And quite frankly, since 2014, not including over 32, we have 4,107 firearms removed from the streets of Boston, as well as combined with the gun buyback program and guns seized. Still, that's an astronomical amount. So you see what we're up against here in Boston. And we always say, yeah, one gun's too many.
When I see the reports about these on the BPD website, a lot of them look kind of routine to my eye, but now and then I see a certain case, it's not too far from my neighborhood. Late at night, a police officer finds somebody who's probably about to do some harm. They're
Right.
armed, and they go after, they get this person, they get the gun off the street, and nobody gets hurt. I mean, how easy is that?
Well, it's not easy at all. Thank God for our great training at the Boston Police Academy, not only for the recruit officers in the academy, but in service as well. We're going into our 7th year of de-escalation, as well as providing training to offer officers alternative means and just go directly in. You gotta use this. So seek cover or concealment and do things smartly. Use the officers that you have. So instead of just rushing right in most of the time, we coordinate our efforts to make the safest arrest possible.
Well, you're also working on some new ways to get guns out of play, and one of them involves a collaboration with the health field. How's that supposed to work?
Yes. So if you responded to a health facility right now, if you had an emergency, God forbid, and you went in, they would ask you specific questions. Basically, is there any domestic violence in your house? Are you under threat? Do you feel safe in your environment? So we just want them to take it a step further by asking if there's any firearms in the house, or have you been threatened by gun violence? Are you a victim of gun violence or threat of same? But one fact, they're not our agents. You're not reporting directly from us. We're just asking for another partner to help remove the guns off the streets and from households. You know, in recent years, we faced many tragedies, but one of the most tragic was in Mattapan when a 14-year-old shot his younger brother, and unfortunately, he didn't survive. And the mother had no idea a gun was in the house, probably, but we faced many circumstances like that, where, hey, if you just ask the question, we can take steps to help remove those firearms from the house. Or what if you are a victim of gun violence and you're not getting any treatment? You need to see a psychologist or a physician that will help you out. That'll alert us to folks that really need help. And also, it'll help us identify any red flags where we can actually help folks out, either mentally or physically.
As far as solving more homicides, anything in particular you have in mind that you'd like to see?
Yes. So one of the things that is kind of a misnomer is that, if you're from this neighborhood, they'll solve that crime faster. I'm going to tell you right now, this isn't TV. This isn't NCI or what any of those CSI. The cold, hard, and stubborn facts of this. You will have a productive case if you have witnesses and you have the evidence. It's not like TV where you can just bring a case to the district attorney and okay, we're off the court. There's a thing called probable cause. So you need witnesses and evidence. Unfortunately, in different circumstances, we're not provided with witnesses and or evidence. And so A case may go on for years and years until we get what we need to bring that case forward for prosecution. With that being said, I'm here to tell it like it is. Years and years of certain neighborhoods, whether they be from Southie to Charlestown to Roxbury to Dorchester, the picture is if that neighborhood does not trust the police, they are not going to go to you and help you facilitate an investigation. So all we're saying is this: we are willing to work with any neighborhood, and we have, but we must build a system of trust in order to get better cooperation. And thank you for asking that question, because it affords me the opportunity to do this, to say thank you for several people who have been helping out. They just don't get the media attention for it. Recently, we had a homicide on Crawford Street. I can't tell you how many 911 calls were made that were actually helpful to us. So I'd like to thank the folks that are coming forward and helping out in many, many ways. But it's up to the Boston Police Department and the City of Boston to, number one, recognize and confirm and affirm that, yes, atrocities did happen in the past. There was ill will in the past, both sides. We shouldn't dismiss each other's negative past, but we should use those as teachable moments so that we can move forward. And then, and only then, can you do a compare and contrast from how neighborhoods were treated in the days of yore, when you still had Jim Crow laws and social and civil injustice, rather, to now, where I think we're doing more. It's all about building trust, and that you feel comfortable coming forward and helping out in an investigation. And I'll close with this: we owe no allegiance to anyone that would shoot babies in their parents' arms or just randomly shoot. We owe no allegiance. So this stop snitching out the window, because you could be next. We owe no allegiance to anyone that would disregard and disrespect our First Amendment rights.
This is BNN News. We're talking with Boston Police Commissioner Liam Gross. You're talking about trust. I think a lot of us want the police to cooperate with the federal government if it's a matter of going after really dangerous people. There's some fear out there that maybe this cooperation about people who are not so dangerous and might be exposed to some aggressive enforcement by ICE. What do you say about that?
First and foremost, we are not agents of ICE, and we only go after dangerous criminals, right? And what folks should know, and many do, and I know I do, because we actually go out and talk to people in the community. We actually hear the stories of people who come to this country to save the lives of their children and to further their bloodline. Unfortunately, when folks come here with that mindset, with that goal in mind, to better our family, to save our family, unfortunately, we have predators that come right along with them, that want to force them in gangs and just commit such atrocious acts: rape, murder, robbery, extortion. There's no place. I don't care if those folks are from Mars or those criminals are from Mars. We're going to lock them up. Those are the folks that we deal with the other federal agencies, to remove that threat from hardworking people who are trying to save lives. Again, we owe no allegiance to anyone that would subject anyone to those types of crimes. And they're there. They're on the books: rape, murder, robbery, extortion. I don't think that should be owed to any country, color, creed. That's crime from a criminal, no matter where you're from or what you look like. And folks that are looking for a better life shouldn't be subjected to that.
Finally, I want to ask you about the way things felt for you last year. I mean, I can't say I was shocked that you were appointed commissioner, but when someone called you and told you, how did you feel?
Well, I was kind of shocked too, actually, but I'll just say, from a historical perspective, and I'm a student of history, just think about where Boston used to be in the 50s, in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. Some of the things that were going on in our city. In 1970, African Americans and Latinos sued the Boston Police Department just to get on the job or for fairness in the promotions. And in 1974, the lawsuit was won. Thus, you had a consent decree and affirmative action. So in 1975, you had forced busing. So again, the police department, neighborhoods of color, or those suffering from poor socioeconomic strife, really kind of set the tone for relationships between those communities and BPD. And that's just in 1975. But in 1985, I come on the force at 21. And if you had asked me then, would it be possible for me to be the first African-American chief and then the first African-American commissioner, I would have said, unobtainable goal, brick ceiling. But thank God, year after year, decade after decade till now, we had forward-thinking folks in our administration that moved the department forward, and it wasn't easy because some of those folks were ostracized just for giving people a fair chance. And so when it was announced, when I was asked to see the mayor and we talked, one of the first things I did was, number one, I'm not trying to tell anyone to do whatever they want religiously. Thank God, my mother and people that paved the way for me. All of the seniors, no matter what color, that fought for justice and equality so that I could be here this day as your 42nd police commissioner, or so that you have your first African-American Congresswoman, Ayanna Pressley, Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. Look at the face of government in Boston now. You have black, white, Latino.
And Asian.
Asian. You have 6 women of color, city council, but both on the city level and at the state house, it's a much better Boston. You have more diversity, more inclusion. We still have work to do, mind you. If you ever read the comments, you see there's a lot of racist people out there, but not to give them any credit, but that's just to bring to light that we still have work to do. So I was very thankful of all the sacrifices that made it possible for me to be here. And you have a sense of pride that hard road that those folks took to make my road smoother, that now I have to pay it forward. Because I was well on my way to retirement, going to the blues and jazz concerts around the world. But if people did for you, then you must do for them. And I'm just so proud, and I love my department and my communities that helped raise me. So it's an honor to be here in this capacity.
And thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Boston Police Commissioner William Gross.